You're listening to The Bird Bath, presented by The Fountain Report. I'm your host, Ryan Leach. Welcome back to The Bird Bath. Each week, we scrape the surface of the news you need to know, so let's get into it. Stop me if you've heard this one, but the AVMA is disagreeing with somebody that thinks that there is a veterinary shortage. So record players are getting more popular, right? But I sound like a broken record when I'm telling you guys this story over and over again. But 2 months ago, we hit on a big story from a March 10th report from the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges and they titled the report, Demand for and Supply of Veterinarians in the U.S. for 2032. It was something we hit on. I posted it on LinkedIn. A lot of you guys engaged with that conversation. And the AVMA has come out, as they do many times whenever someone has a number or analytics that they cite as being a issue with the amount of DVMs that are going to be present in the next several years. The AVMA's put out their own post and their own write-up about this. And what they have said, Dr. Rena Carlson, the AVMA president, as well as the chief executive, Janet Donlin, said, candidly, we worry that the analysis substantively underestimates the supply of veterinarians and overestimates demand for them. This mirrors a lot of what the AVMA had sent to me and thank you, always enjoy having you listen. But what we heard from the AVMA in October of last year when we hit on a research study by Dr. Lloyd was that they felt that there was an overestimating of the demand for veterinarians. There was a difficulty in the forecasting, as well as they cited some complexities and overall issues with where things were going. Now, the difference of what we discussed in October to what we're discussing in March and now was that the most recent report was put out by the colleges and the veterinary medical colleges. And that was something that was different because the AVMA was pointing to the creation and the expansion of 12 new colleges as being the catalyst or the tool that was going to keep there from becoming, in their view, or continuing to have, in others' views, of a shortage in the space. Now, the report was withdrawn. This is kind of an unexpected turn in the story, but the AAVMC withdrew the report for what they said was a different reason. They acknowledged that it didn't respectfully represent the increasing role women are playing in a profession that is predominantly female. So the report was pulled. It did come, around the same time that the AVMA reached out and was unhappy with the report. So not sure if there is a true correlation. The AAVMC says there was not, but it's still this same conversation. Like I said, we could turn this from the bird bath to the understaffed, right? But it's a demand that I think we're seeing. We saw that there are large groups like PetIQ who closed over 130 of their brick and mortar practices due to an inability to staff them with DVMs. So the numbers that some groups point to say very different things than what the people that are looking to staff and fulfill the demand that clients have for DVMs in clinics. So it's a continuous thing. I guess on the same note, I'd like to open the floor here. I will be at the AVMA conference in June down in Austin. So if you're not going to be at the AVMA convention, it's going to be something very interesting. I went last year in Denver. I'll be at Austin. It's right down the street from me in Dallas. Well, 3 hours is down the street in Texas terms. And I would love to and open the floor to anyone from the AVMA that would like to join the show and discuss this candidly and see what their view is and what the data has. So I'm putting an open call. If you're from the AVMA, if you're listening and you'd like to participate on the show, let's put it on the calendar. I'd love to have you guys on the show. Now on to an agricultural story because, right, I'm trying to branch you guys all out here and let's talk about ag health and animal health as a whole, not just the companion animal side of things. But within 6 weeks of the first case of H5N1 confirmation in Texas, 9 of the total states responsible for more than a quarter of all U.S. dairy production, accounting for 3.5% of the U.S. gross domestic product, or the GDP, reported H5N1 cases in dairy cows and are continuing to do so. H5N1, if you're not familiar, is also called bird flu. And it's something that, despite being bird flu, which us at the Bird Bath are very concerned about, can also affect cattle. And dairy cattle are something that we see a migration of. They move from state to state as they're traded, as they're bred, as they're brought into different livestock situations. And this causes the continuous and the increase of the transmission of the H5N1 virus. There's a lot of questions and people are still unsure. Obviously, it's a bird flu that has adapted to be able to be carried by dairy cattle. And if there's a question if it's able to be adapted to and transmitted among humans, with such a large portion of the U.S. GDP tied up in dairy production, 3.5%, it's something that's being heavily discussed. There was coverage across the country this past week with the New York Times, LA Times, Reuters, and Washington Post, among many other, actually putting out news stories about this transmission. There's been calls on President Biden to have a more aggressive response in how the bird flu is being attacked and addressed. And it's also starting to reestablish conversations that people want around potential bans on movement of livestock and animal amongst different states, and trying to figure out ways to be able to do more real-time tracking of the movements of the livestock. So it's something big that's happening. I would be remiss if I didn't encourage everyone to keep their ear to the ground on what's going on here, because it's not just ag health, it's animal health. And if it's not just animal health, it's also national health, as well as you see that when we look at livestock, it's a major component of the U.S. GDP. So keep up to date on what's going on here. The bird flu is something that's continuing to grow, and if it adapts, it could be a bigger issue for us. Now let's get into some good news. I've got two fun stories for you. So if you were feeling heavy from the last one about worrying about bird flu, maybe it would be a great time to think about your wellness. I had a really great opportunity this week to sit down and talk with Melissa Allen, who's the founder of Veterinary Wellbeing Buddy. And first off, Buddy is the name of Melissa's dog who had passed away. And when we were talking, it was really cool to see just sort of the way she lit up when thinking about well-being, and Buddy, her dog, who helped her through so much, being sort of this vision of helping others. But Veterinary Wellbeing Buddy has launched a membership program. So they now have a new membership for veterinary professionals to engage in supportive community. It's a monthly membership that will allow people, whether they're professionals or students, to be able to have continuous monthly coaching calls, exclusive resource and content focused on well-being resources tailored for people in the veterinary industry. It hits on tips, tools, insights, and it's really designed to promote a healthy work-life balance. So if you had the chance to meet Melissa before, you may have seen her in Orlando doing pups and Pilates, which is something that she does. And Melissa is really, I met her at an event in New York and was just taken back by someone that exudes this warmth and this kindness, and the things that she's bringing to people in the space, in a world that's in a community that's, struggles with mental health and has a very difficult time. I think it was great to see that Melissa is carrying on this torch and really pushing more things within the scope of what Veterinary Wellbeing Buddy can do. So if you want to check out the membership with the Wellbeing Buddies membership, I'll make sure I put a link in the bio. And you can also check out one of Melissa's more cohort style sessions where you can actually sign up, walk through, and have a coach right there alongside you to help you goal set and have what Melissa said is called unleashing your positive well-being transformation. So make sure you check it out. I found it really interesting. I think people, whether you're in practice in the professional world, or if you're a student getting ready to graduate and you want to come out prepared, like we talked about last week with Ready Vet Go, doing that for their city vet client. Make sure to check it out. I think Melissa does a great job, and you'd be very, very happy being able to spend a little bit of time with somebody that's bringing such positivity to the space. Final story of the week comes to us from Bark and Zillow. They announced They're America's most dog-obsessed cities. Now, they focus this on renters, which makes a lot of sense because renters are probably the ones that are told sometimes, no, you can't have a dog. But as they said in their post, dog obsession, or even dog obsession, is bigger in Texas. Dallas, which is where I live, Austin, which is where I grew up, and San Antonio took the top 3 spots for the most dog-obsessed cities. It's a really cool post. What they did was they put out not only the most dog-obsessed cities by ranking where dogs have the most dog-friendly homes and apartments available, but then also where those people live, where the retail is rolling out, where rentals are available, and where dogs and their owners can live in the best place. But I found it really fun to see just the list of what they put out. So the top 10 cities were Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, big win for Texas here, Charlotte, North Carolina, Indianapolis, Denver, Colorado, New York City, Phoenix, Arizona, Seattle, Washington, and Jacksonville, Florida. At the top 4 cities, both golden retrievers and Labrador retrievers were the top pets there. Labs held strong pretty much through the entire country, and golden retrievers kept popping up. And it was fun to just see a little bit of the top names as well as the overall types of dogs that really were embraced in these cities. So I'll make sure I put out the post there so that you guys can see it. It was fun to see what Bark and Zillow had to say as far as where dogs are most obsessed. So for everyone in Texas, good work. Keep it up. Let's stay top of mind when it comes to being dog obsessed. And for more on these and other stories, join us by subscribing to the Fountain Report. There's always a link in the bio. And don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing and rating the show. For the Bird Bath, I'm Ryan Leach. See you next week.